Hey Lightworkers, I'm going to be talking up close and personal here today about the power of awareness, and it's inspired by the book The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. Now, awareness is really a pretty big deal because we cannot change our thoughts to then change our experiences unless we have some level of awareness. And when we start getting awareness of our patterns of thinking, can actually be very enlightening. For example, anywhere in our life where we see unintended results, like we keep thinking we want something, but it just doesn't seem to be working out, we're probably lacking awareness in that area of our life. She's snoozing. So, for example, unintended results, it might be, I know many of you know my story that I have been sugar and flour free for, like I've been really working on it for a while. But let's say that several years ago, okay, like so right now, if I were to eat something with flour, like some bread, the next day, if I got sore and achy from it, I would know, okay, it's because I ate that bread. But like 10 years ago, when I would eat bread and get really sore and achy and feel like I had the flu, I had no clue. I just kept eating the bread. Like, I'm so sore and achy. I think I need to eat more bread to try to feel better. Okay, so today I want to talk about the importance of awareness and some blocks to awareness that we may have, but also how we can be more self-aware. And so I heard something about the World Economic Forum says that self-awareness is the number one indicator of success. And they have several indicators. Self-awareness is the number one indicator to our success. And self-awareness just means that we can take a moment and evaluate what we just did. It's like, okay, I just did that thing. Did it serve me? No. Then I need to change that. And then we change that. And then, of course, we all have our own definition of success. And I would say for myself, I feel successful if I can go to bed at night and feel pretty good about my day. And even if I just feel okay about my day, if I know that I did my best with what I had, then I think that's success. Okay, to me, that is success. So you can see that having self-awareness is pretty important if we want to change our thinking, to change our experience of life, right? So Neville Goddard said this: rich man, poor man, beggar man, or thief are not different minds, but different arrangements of the same mind. And he's talking about divine mind, that we are each of us an expression or an extension of the one consciousness, the all. But we're individuated into different souls. So I have one, I'm an individuated soul, you're an individuated soul. Okay, and so we just all express our mind differently. We all do things differently because we're individuated. But we are still, all of us, an expression of that same mind that put the planets into their spin and inspires the wee acorn to grow into a mighty oak tree. So I heard this story, and I think it might be, excuse me, I think it might be from Tony Robbins, the most motivational speaker that ever was, right? But he told the story about these twin boys, and they were born into a family, and the dad was a career criminal, and so mom was a single mom because dad was off in jail all the time. And the boys, they basically grew up without any kind of force for good in their lives. Mom was always gone, working really hard. Dad was gone, not being a good example at all. So one boy grew up and became a career criminal. The other boy grew up, he put himself through school and decided like that he was going to do better, and he did, and he ended up, getting a job that he liked. But both of these boys would say, if you look at my family, you'd see I didn't have a choice, right? Except one of them used his sad circumstances as an excuse to not try. The other one used those sad circumstances as the reason to do better. Okay, now with awareness, we become a participant in our own lives. And this means we can do our best with what we have. We always know what we have to work with, right? And we utilize all that life gives us, whatever that happens to be. But without awareness, we end up being a bystander and thinking things just happen to us, and the universe will feel like the universe doesn't have our back when we show up in our life as a bystander. So some of our blocks to awareness would be, and I would say the number one block would be being on autopilot. Now, we all know the feeling of being on autopilot. If you drive the same way to work every day, right? You can go on autopilot. You don't have to think about like where you're going. You know how to get there. Your subconscious can drive for you. Your body can drive for you. Well, I mean, you could listen to how to learn a foreign language, right? On your audio, and you'd still get to work just fine, right? But I don't know if you're like me. If I get detoured off of my usual route, I sometimes actually have to turn off the music because I need to concentrate on where I am because it's unfamiliar. Now, being on autopilot when it comes to driving, not really a big deal, I guess, as long as you're aware and safe, while you're driving. But I'm talking about autopilot of our thinking process. And we are on autopilot in our thinking process when we say things like, I can't afford that. I'm always broke. I don't have enough money. There's never enough. Life is hard. Life's just not fair. Nothing ever works out for me. So when we continually say those things, we're on autopilot. Okay, we're on autopilot with our thinking. We're also on autopilot when we continually blame and complain. If we're blaming people or conditions for the reason that we can't be happy right now, we're essentially being a bystander in our own life. Okay, I don't know if you heard that because I have my headphones on. There's a really loud motorcycle just drove by. Okay, but when we're blaming, okay, it's true. If you just got rear-ended by a car, by somebody else, it's their fault, and maybe you got whiplash, so your neck really hurts. Of course it's their fault. And if you say, man, it's their fault, I have this, my neck hurts. Of course it is their fault. But I'm talking about 5 years later, if you are still blaming things on that car accident. See, when we're on autopilot, it's not going to occur to us, okay, that thing happened, but what can I do about it now? How can I take responsibility for how I show up to my life now? Okay? So whether we're on autopilot or whether we're blaming and complaining, we are a bystander in our own life. Ernest Holmes said this, and this could have been written in today's world, right? He said, practically the whole human race is hypnotized because it thinks what somebody else told it to think. Wow, that's powerful. And this is another block to our awareness. Mass hypnosis. Okay, mass hypnosis. When I trained as a hypnotherapist, I learned something really interesting. Well, one, children are in a hypnotic state a lot because they're young and they're taking in things and they're absorbing them. Of course, this means that if parents or other grown-ups in their life or even other kids say something really mean and cruel, that child can take it in and file it away as truth. Okay, truth. But adults, like if there are two ways at least that I can remember where we become extremely hypnotizable. One of those is if somebody yells at us and scares us, startles us. If they say something really mean, it goes right into our subconscious as true. So if you get into a fight with your partner and they yell at you, or you yell at them, maybe even apologize for it later and feel terrible about it, but it's still whatever got yelled to the other person goes into the subconscious as the truth. Okay, getting frightened, getting scared, right? We've seen it on the news. It works every time, right? The news will share some terrible, terrible, scary news, and all of a sudden, we're hypnotizable and we're receiving that information as true. Okay, even in the whole culture of marketing, all of marketing is focused on a problem and what you lack. Okay, this is what you don't have, this is what you can't control, and this is really a formula to feel pretty bad. Okay, in fact, here is a formula for a bad day. Okay, a formula for a bad day. Focus on what you cannot control, focus on the things you don't have, and get stuck in your past or get stuck in your future. Okay, there's a formula for a bad day right there. Eric Butterworth said this: "We are not in the world to set it right, but to see it rightly. If you want to change the world or to be an influence for such a change, you must begin within. Begin within yourself by changing the way you see the world." This means that instead of looking at the world as a scary place, as a place where things aren't fair, nothing ever seems to work out, we instead see God as the everywhere present force that it is. Seek only the wonder that is God. And then this helps us to shift our focus from our problems, of course, to solutions, to the good that is already present in our lives. And this is one of the ways now we start to become more self-aware, is shifting our focus from what scares us to what is beautiful in this life. And so part of self-awareness comes from learning to identify our triggers, right? There's a thing called triggers. And it's not a word that I ever have really used, but several years ago, I was friends with a gal who was a life coach. Really lovely person, very into women's transformation. But she would talk about triggering constantly. She would say, "Oh yeah, I was just so triggered by this thing," or "I can't even go there because it's just so triggering to be there." And Deanna, are you okay? Are you being triggered right now by this? And so one time we were at this event, and there was another woman there, another lovely person. And I thought it was real fun and to talk with her. She's very engaging. And so, but my other friend comes up to me and says, "Oh, I can't even talk to her. She is so triggering. She is so triggering." And I realized, like, okay, I never used the word triggering. I was old school. Like, okay, folks, I was old school. I would just come right out and say, they're the reason I'm not happy. I'm just going to blame them, right? And as she said that, that person is triggering me. And I realized, but I see that person is really lovely and engaging. That means that when we're looking out there, it's still a projection from us, right? And I thought about all the times that maybe I blamed somebody, right? They're the reason I'm not happy. That there's somebody else who's going to say, "Oh, that person is so great. They were so helpful," right? Because it's all within us. Okay, so if we are upset by something in our environment, whether it's a condition or a person, the first thing we really want to do is go within ourselves and examine this, right? It's the inner work here. It's time to be done, right? Not the thing that we want to point our finger at. It's time to point our finger right here. And greater clarity about ourselves comes with noticing that we do this. When we start noticing that we point the finger, oh my God, it's like the most amazing opportunity for growth that we will ever experience, okay? So I learned something not too long ago. It's called the lion's gaze. And I read it on a website talking about like Tibetan yoga. And so the person writing about the lion's gaze says that when we chase after our thoughts, right? When we get triggered or we're blaming a condition, right? Or an event, we're going after our thoughts. He said that is like a dog chasing a stick. Okay? When you throw a stick, the dog is always going to chase after the stick. And he said even that sometimes like we do this with more enthusiasm than sense, okay? Like we really go after those thoughts and want to examine them, want to pull them apart, really want to just dig out all the layers, right? But see, that's us like a dog going after a stick. He said that when you throw a stick around a lion, the lion will always look at whoever threw the stick and go after the thrower, right? I didn't even think that was possible. I thought all animals would chase the stick, okay? But no, a lion, I guess, will go after whoever threw the stick. So it's called the lion's gaze because when our thoughts, we race after this condition or this event that we're really unhappy about, it's time to turn the gaze inward and look back at the thrower of that stick, okay? And so we turn our gaze within, and it gives us the time to reflect on that. It's like, let's look and see what's in me that actually needs the healing. Not why does this event keep, triggering me, but what is within me that needs the healing. And I had a moment recently where I really, really got to practice this. And I had read something on social media. It was really upsetting. It was posted by someone that I know. And I was very judgmental, right? In my head, I was like, how could she post that? That's really mean. That's a horrible thing to say. And it was all to make a political point. But I still saw it as like, that's so mean. That is just so mean. And the bigger part of me, I should say, no, the vaster part, wanted to retaliate and point my finger and set this person straight. Luckily, in my heart, I do believe that trying to set somebody straight and change their mind about stuff like that never works, okay? So, but I just kept thinking about it, and I was really upset. And my thoughts were chasing after this stick. My thoughts were like a dog chasing after that stick. And so I was like, okay, lion's gaze. Let's look. Why is this really bothering me so much? People post nasty stuff on the internet all the time. Why is this bothering me so much? I really want to heal this, right? Because I was feeling terrible about it for like 2 days, really. And so I go with that. I'm kind of like, okay, how can I let this go? How can I heal this? And what I heard was sometimes when people get really big feelings about things, they don't know what to do about the thing. And so they will post things like that because it feels like they're taking action, right? When we take a defensive action by posting something, it feels like we're doing something because probably we have an adrenaline rush or something. It's really not a defensive action though. I mean, it's not a creative action. It is a defensive action. And so I heard that. When people feel really big feelings, if they can't really identify the best thing to do, that's what's going to happen. And then I thought of someone else who posts mean stuff all the time. And I thought, wow, this is a person that I stopped following them, but every now and then I'll go look at their page because I want to see what they posted that I can get mad about, right? And I thought of this person. I was like, wow, they just must feel this like suffering all the time about all of these things they are so worried about. And all of a sudden, I just have this compassion for both of these people now. And I felt a grace move through my body that I could physically feel it. And even right this minute, now sharing the story again, there's no emotional charge. I can remember what happened, but there is no emotional charge. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is when we turn our gaze within and we ask, what is it that needs to be healed? Because that's an open wound right there. If something out there upsets us so much, but see, here's the thing, whenever there's something out there that really makes us feel distraught, there's something in here that is the remedy for that. Okay, there's something in here that is the remedy. Okay, so this is one of the ways that we start, of course, healing. This is one of the ways we start acting with more self-awareness and being more self-aware. And then we want to learn to consciously shift our focus. So you remember when I said a formula for a bad day? right? Focus on what we cannot control and focus on what we don't have. And we get stuck in the past or the future. We want to switch that up consciously with intention, right? And diligence. This is going to take practice. This is going to take commitment. But whenever we focus on what we cannot control, which is pretty much anything out there, right? Decide, okay, I'm just going to focus on the thing I can control, which is us, right? It's me. I control how I can show up right now in this situation, right? And then we really just surrender this idea that it's up to us to control everybody out there and get them to show up a way that we find the most pleasing, right? We have to just surrender that idea. And remember, surrender is not a rational act. It is a mystical act, okay? So we can control how we show up. Focus on what we don't have. That is a recipe for feeling miserable, thinking about all the things that we lack in our life. So now we want to focus on what we do have. Okay, what is working? Have some gratitude, have some appreciation, have some thankfulness, right? You've got a roof over your head. You woke up on the right side of the grass this morning. Okay, so there are things to be thankful for. And instead of getting stuck in the past or worrying about the future, focus on this present time. You can ask, all right, well, what do I have to work with right now? Where can I start today? Okay, and start with our affirmations, right? Do an affirmation. And realize that like when we accept where we are right this minute, we know what we have to work with. And that means from right here, we can go anywhere. Like as soon as we accept where we are and what we have to work with, we can go anywhere. Okay, just like wherever you are, you can end up in San Francisco if you want to go to San Francisco. Okay, I'm in Southern California and I wouldn't say, well, there's no way I can get to San Francisco unless I can, I wouldn't go on like the internet and look for tickets from Oakland to San Francisco, right? I would buy a plane ticket from down here because I would accept where I am. Okay, so that's what we have to do. We just accept where we are. It's just a starting point. It's just a starting point. So we do all of this with diligence. Repetition is very important when we are changing our thinking to change our experience. And, back when, like in my 20s, I had heard that I was taught that it takes 21 days to change a bad habit. I have never had that experience where it was just 21 days. I'll tell you, it was up to 10 months in some cases for myself. Of course, I am older and I've had a lot of time to really get bad habits ingrained. I'm just telling you that because I don't want you to feel disappointed or discouraged if in 21 days your life has not totally flipped around, okay, for the better. Just keep at it, okay? Just keep at it. So all of this it's a very powerful way for us to change our belief system, feeling good with those gratitudes and with the affirmation. And remember, feeling good rewires our brain to have a shortcut to our bliss center, okay? Feeling good releases those feel-good hormones that like help tip our body toward well-being and kind of give us a little boost in that direction, right? When we are feeling good, life rushes to meet us and we become aware of the gifts that it brings, right? Life's always bringing us gifts, but we just don't always notice them. So it's going to start really feeling like life is working in our favor. So let's have an affirmation. I'm going to say it and then let's say it together 3 times, okay? I learn more about myself every day, right? That's what it takes when we are asking for more self-awareness. That's it. I learn more about myself every day. 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 Okay, remember, every choice that we make either empowers us or it disempowers us. Every choice that we make either gives us a return on our energy or it depletes our energy. Now, the more self-awareness we have, the bigger the return on our energy. So here is our invitation for this week. And I ask you to do this with me because it's more fun, of course, when we get to do things together. But ask this question throughout the week. Where is my awareness right now? Where's my focus? right? That's all it is, really. Where's my focus right now? Am I focusing on things that I can't control? Or am I focusing on what I can control, right? Am I focusing on how I show up, like what I do next? Am I focusing on things that I lack? Or am I focusing on the good that I already have? Knowing the more that I focus on the good I already have, the more I will be given, right, to focus on, right? If I have gratitude for all the good I have right now, I'll be given more to have gratitude for it. Am I focusing on my past or my future? Or am I focusing on this moment and affirming my good? Am I focusing on how hard life is? Or am I focusing on the spiritual truth that the universe has my back and life gives more to me than I could ever use? Our self-awareness alerts us when we're stuck in our perceived limitations. It's not going to feel good when we're stuck in a perceived limitation. And so our self-awareness, it alerts us so we can change our mind, right? So we can change our mind and shift our focus to God is all things, and that means me, and that means my ideas and my inspirations. And as I change my thinking, I change my experience of life. And this is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember that you are divinely designed to be doing all of this, and everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is.